Welcome, everybody. It is Go Local Live. I'm Josh Fenton, filling in for Kate Nagel, who will be back tomorrow. She's on the injured reserve. I'm here with Bryan Berard. Good to see you, Bryan.
Thanks for having me.
Former NHL #1 draft pick, one of two out of Mount St. Charles, I believe, right?
Yeah, myself and Lawton, correct.
Not bad. Amazing career, and not the rocket, just straight up career in the NHL, but lots of twists and turns. I think a lot of Rhode Islanders know the story, but you've written a book, and I think it's a really important book about your experience, not only on the ice, but off the ice, and the complexity of life, and what you've learned from it. It's called Relentless, and it really tracks a number of different challenges you came across in life and how you dealt with them.
Yeah, it does. We started this project probably about a year ago with Simon & Schuster out of Canada, out of Toronto. So myself and Jim Lang, who's written some books with Bob Probert, Ty Domi, Wendell Clark. So it was a neat little project. It came out last week, and it's not just a hockey book. It tells some stories about my off-ice up and downs as well, with a financial advisor, some fraud in there, and some insurance fraud as well. So it's a good book. It's a good read.
Let's go through the timeline. You grew up in Woonsocket. You and Bush, of course, now is the behind the glass announcer for NBC Sports and their NHL coverage. He's had a great career in the NHL, but that relationship started when you were 6 years old.
It does. So myself and Bryan grew up in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. So everyone, he does great on NBC as well. But with Bryan, we went from first grade on right through 11th grade at Mount St. Charles together. So growing up in Woonsocket, it was always a kind of a dream of ours to play for the Mount St. Charles, the Mounties. And it's kind of a full circle too. We came back, and now me and Bryan are kind of overseeing the new project in Mount as well. So our friendship is we're still best friends, and I know we travel a lot now doing the NHL games, but we still talk a lot.
You play at Mount. Obviously, Mount was maybe the greatest sports team ever in high school sports in America. You can make the argument. 2 #1 draft picks. The streak of numbers of state champions, the number of guys who made it to the NHL. I mean, just a legacy to be unmatched. And you do it with your best friend from 6 years old. You both end up in the NHL.
Which is, I guess, from a small town like Woonsocket as well. I mean, we both got drafted in the first round back in '95 out of Edmonton, Alberta. So that was a special day for me, and me and my family and Bryan as well. We got to enjoy it together. And then again, I keep bringing back the new Mount project, but it's something that I'm proud of. And it's, I've been retired now for almost 10 years in the NHL. So for me to get back and working with the young players, you just basically from 14 to 18, I was excited to do that.
It's great. The book covers everything from your dad's garage and your love of dealing with axle grease all the way through to making it to the NHL. You get to the NHL, you get picked by Ottawa, and you say, I don't want to play for Ottawa. You pulled a little bit of a Manning brother or John Elway, and you end up where you really wanted to be, which was the Islanders.
It was. I mean, it wasn't. I think that it kind of got a bad rap at the beginning because it was kind of after the Eric Lindros is what kind of happened. So I think they kind of thought I was a spoiled American kid getting drafted first overall.
You cannot be a spoiled American kid from Woonsocket. As somebody who lived in Woonsocket for 20-something years and raised 2 kids there, there's no spoiledness in Woonsocket.
You cannot be, and that's. I mean, I grew up my dad being a mechanic, and it kind of explains in the book about middle class family, and really it kind of didn't work out in Ottawa. I was upset because I wanted to play as an 18-year-old. As again, we'll talk about, we discussed in the book, but I was upset, and at that time it was a tough organization. They had a lot of young players, but it just wasn't going in the right direction. So we thought it was the best to kind of go back and play another year junior and ask for a trade.
You end up at the Islanders. You're having a storied career. You win Rookie of the Year, and then a couple years later, you have a horrific injury.
Correct. I mean, it was a few good years with the Islanders. I mean, the team was a young team with guys like Todd Bertuzzi, Brian McCabe, Ziggy Palffy. So it was a good way to break in the league. And then some great stories about my battles with Mike Milbury as well. We kind of had that love-hate relationship.
Mike, of course, is the announcer for...
He works at NBC as well.
NBC.
And, I mean, most of them is Bruins fan who's played Bruins. And, he traded away some players with the Islanders. So some good stories about that, obviously, in the book. And then really what happened was I kind of I don't want to say won the hockey lottery, but I got traded to Toronto Maple Leafs that year. We closed down the old Maple Leafs Garden. We opened up the Air Canada Center. We had a pretty good team that year as well. So to play in Toronto was probably I would say the best memories of the NHL. And then unfortunately, I took the stick in my right eye from Marian Hossa, and it kind of almost, really almost ended my career. And I really thought I was going to retire at 23 years old, but I was able to come back and kind of have a second. I kind of look at it as two careers for myself. I guess one with two eyes and one with one. So, but it ended up working out good, and I wouldn't take anything back.
And Toronto's a different place, right? There's no other fans like them, maybe in all of professional sports. Every game is sold out. There's, I think, a waiting list of like 40,000 people to buy a season ticket. We had the chance to go to a preseason game, and the place was like it was playing for the seventh game of the Stanley Cup Championship. What was it like playing in sort of the iconic arena of all of hockey?
I would say, especially Toronto, and then I would say Montreal Canadiens. I think
Yeah.
are two obviously franchises that are real special to play for. But as I guess American kid that just speaks English to play, not to play in Montreal, we got to deal with both the media, French and English, is a little tough. But Toronto is, it is the mecca. A lot of people describe it as like playing for the Yankees in New York.
Yeah.
The media, you come even from New York, where there'd be maybe 10 to 20 reporters after a practice. In Toronto, there's 50 to 100 reporters there after just a regular practice. So, but it was fun. You just really got to kind of, I guess, not worry about reading the newspaper and watching the news. But to play there, we had a young team, and it was probably the best teams I played on too. One year we lost in the East Conference Finals. Just had Matt Sundin, Ty Domi. We had the Russian Mafia, a lot of Russian players. So it was a good group of guys.
Did you get to meet Putin?
I did not, unfortunately, but obviously I played a year in Russia too, which
Right.
was within KHL when I was retired. So it was fun. It was like the Wild Wild West, but I definitely got to enjoy my time over there.
Talk a little bit about, this book is about relentless and a perseverance of overcoming obstacles. Talk a little bit about that eye injury and what it was like, what the shock of it was, the idea of losing the dream at 23, and how you made decisions about, you could have taken a big insurance policy,
Correct.
or you could have fought your way back into the NHL. And there was really, I had lunch with Jim Bennett today from the Bennett family, and he said, this game is hard. I was mentioning you were coming on, and he said, the game's so friggin' hard with two eyes. I cannot imagine ever playing with one eye.
It's true. Again, I thought my career was done. So it was in Ottawa, which is kind of, it's kind of weird it happened in Ottawa. But again, the doctors, I basically caught just an accidentally swung stick from Marian Hossa, struck my right eye, and I wasn't able to close in time. So it ruptured my orbital, my cheekbone as well, and my eyeball just kind of burst. So really, I went through probably about a good solid 14 months of just surgery after surgery. The doctors knew I wanted to get back in the NHL, and I was trying to just get as much sight as I could back in the eye. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty much blind out that eye. It doesn't, when this eye's open, it doesn't. My brain doesn't use the right side. So I just had to learn really how to play the game all over again with the one eye. Offensively, I thought as the time went on, my game got better and better. But defensively, it was tough. The pucks dumping on you and kind of covering guys in front of the net. So it was definitely, I would say, maybe came back at 75% as once the player I once was. But again, I was lucky enough at 23, I was able to come back, play another 6-7 years in the NHL, and I enjoyed doing that.
So you play 6-7 more years, and then you realize that the wealth you've developed as a professional athlete has taken a curveball on its own through a third party. Talk a little bit about that.
I will. That's why I'm relentless. It just seemed I kind of had a dark cloud over me a little bit. After the eye injury coming back, and then I really started to play well. And then I had 2 back surgeries at 32 years old. That kind of ended my career short. And then when I was over in Russia playing, I was contacted by the FBI and wanted to ask me some questions when I got back to New York about my former financial advisor, who's actually in jail now. He was basically, it was kind of like the Madoff, some Ponzi schemes, forging our signatures on power of attorney. Probably about 23 to 30 NHL players he was stealing from, some ex-cops as well in New York. Just a bad person, and so to kind of realize that some of the I guess my nest egg that I did save up when I was playing the NHL was pretty much gone. So I was living in New York City at the time, and so that good gave me a lot of gray hair. But other than that, I just came back and I'm here in Rhode Island. I've been working for Whale Rock Point Partners now for about 6 years. So that's something. It's a financial firm here in Providence that I really want.
A very successful financial firm, very well established. nearly $1 billion under management. It's a significant firm, and you really reinvented yourself yet again.
Correct, and I, they contacted me, Brad Dorman, and at the time Rich Kavanaugh, but now working with Brad Dorman and Tyson Reed. So really just wanted to kind of educate what I went through, try to reach out to younger athletes, try to prevent that from happening. So it's kind of, again, that's why I kind of want to write this book and tell my story and not sit back and hopefully people can learn from my mistakes.
Now you've established yourself in the marketplace as, I think, a well-respected guy in the financial field, but you don't stop there. You step forward with a number of other former Mount hockey players, and you come together and really reinvent the athletic program at Mount St. Charles, and to some degree the school in and of itself. Talk a little bit about that process that's going on right this second. Just opened up new dorms to make it a boarding school for the first time since the 40s or the 50s.
That is correct.
Talk a little bit about that process.
I will. Alan Tenrero, who can kind of give him most of the credit, he was a former Mount student. He's about 3 or 4 years older than me. He was at Mount as well. They hired him from actually Cumberland High School, who was actually the principal president of the year at the time. So we went out and recruited him. We knew Mount was struggling a little bit as far as not academically, but getting students to come to the school. And again, unfortunately, Rhode Island hockey, high school hockey, kind of has taken a dip, and the kids are leaving for prep school or these full season teams. So Alan, with the help of myself, Matt Jarrett, Brian Boucher, Peter Belisle, and Dave Belisle, kind of sat in a room and kind of decided, and Alan pulled the trigger. We hired these guys from South Kent, which are the Selects program. So we have a U14, U15, a U16, and a U18 program. They play a full season schedule. We work with them on, off the ice as far as education, fitness, nutrition. It's a really great program. They play about 60, almost, if they make the national championship, close to 70 games in a year. It's something I wish I would have had at that program. I mean, I go on the ice now. I work with the kids a couple times a week, mostly Wednesdays, with just some skills and some development.
Are you horrified how skilled they are at that age versus when you played?
Absolutely, and that's what I said. I go out there and run about an hour of practice, and I wish I had that, because these kids are so skilled now. And watching the NHL, it's a lot of fun if you're a hockey fan.
And this is a real strategic change in high school sports in Rhode Island, because, as you say, and it's not just happening in hockey, it's happening in basketball, it's happened in lacrosse, where the star student athletes are really being picked off by top prep schools in New England and saying, hey, listen, come to Andover, or come to Portsmouth Abbey, or Kent, or Canterbury, or wherever it is, and we'll match whatever you're paying at your respective school, and you can come here and get a better opportunity to play at a higher level. This is a chance for Rhode Island to sort of get back in the game from a hockey standpoint.
Absolutely, and the location's great. So some of these Mount doesn't have Saturday classes, so the kids aren't missing classes like at prep schools.
Right.
They're located. Marlborough's got the big ice facility now. Attleboro. I mean, to get up to upstate New York. So it's a great location. And obviously, we have the old Mount Arena.
We can't change that. It is literally one of the greatest places to see a sporting event in the United States of America. It has to be in the top 10. Pauley Pavilion, UCLA basketball, the Palestra in Philadelphia, and the Mount.
It is. It's a great old barn, and but we do, hopefully in a couple of years, we'd like to get a 2-sheet arena, because we'd like to do the same thing.
Is the chicken wire still up?
No, it is not. That's been going for a few years. But we'd like to do a girls program as well.
Yeah.
So we need the double ice surfaces to really make this work.
Does it still have the snack bar?
It still has a snack bar,
which is spectacularly good food.
The only thing that's lost is the pro shop. But
the pro shop.
That's now the coach's office. But other than that, it's pretty much the same.
If you're putting together your Christmas list of gifts to give to people, this book's got to be on that list. Who's it for? Is it for the young athlete? Is it for the mid-career person who's thinking about, how do I overcome some of the obstacles I've had? Who reads this book?
It's an easy read, and I want to do something that I guess my mom would be proud of and my nieces and nephews could read. So really it's for everybody. And again, it's not just a hockey book. It talks about my ups and downs on and off the ice. And just, I was lucky enough, I was raised by, my mom and dad, and I have 5 siblings as well. So my parents, never told me, never to give up, and I kept fighting. And when I look back, I did have, I guess I can look back and say I wish I would have known what I could have done with 2 good eyes in the NHL. But again, I had a great career, and it was a lot of fun. This project, writing this book with Jim Lang, it came out really well.
Bryan, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations, great career, what you're doing in the community now and all the success you're having on business. We are over and out today. Check a number of updates that have just come up on GoLocal, and we'll also have an update on Thursday night into Friday morning storm. Whether it's going to be rain or snow, we'll have something up shortly on that. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Look for tomorrow. You'll have Kate Nagel back in the house. Thanks.
Thank you.